Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for coming. So our Global Careers panel is offering students the opportunity to explore a variety of global career paths and what it means to be future ready in a global society. Through seminars, workshops, and guest speakers in a variety of fields, students can seek out opportunities to network and develop skills relevant to their future plans, including college and career planning.
The goal of this event is to expose students to a wide variety of career experiences that include global connections and skills gained working and living internationally. There are a variety of skills that will prepare students for careers domestically and internationally, and this panel will help explore how to get those skills and apply them. Students will learn how the panelists' lives and careers shaped their path and how those paths were shaped by international experiences. Additionally, panelists will discuss how the skills they learned working in international contexts are applied to both their daily lives and their current careers.
Help us keep track of how many participants we have today and where you're all joining from. We ask that you please enter in the chat the name of your school, how many students and educators there are, and how many are with us today.
Okay, so our first panelist is Anya Aleman, Innovation Director with Ascender. And Anya, welcome and thank you for joining us. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, both your personal and career journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for having me. It's a great morning already. It's a great Friday to be here. Thank you to the World Affairs Council for inviting me, and just really excited to get to know more about the other panelists and also all of you as well. My name is Anya Aleman. I'm the Innovation Director at Ascender. Ascender is a local incubator for entrepreneurs. We help small businesses and startups build sustainable businesses. We work primarily with entrepreneurs from the Pittsburgh area, and we work with early stage companies. And what that means is that if you have an idea, if someone has a research idea, they can come to us. They can get help in order to launch their businesses, and we help them with coaching, mentoring, funding, co-working space, and many more support needed for entrepreneurs. I am originally from Nicaragua. I moved to the US when I was 16 years old in 2006. Spanish is my first language, and then English, and I speak some French. In regards to sort of like my career journey, I think when I think about it is definitely my upbringing in Nicaragua helped me shape my passion for economic development, for helping entrepreneurs. I come from a family where we had a lot of entrepreneurs. In Nicaragua, we have what we call a formal and informal economy. So, you can have established businesses, but you can also have, sort of like what we will say here, side hustles, and I think when I think about sort of entrepreneurs, it's just like people who have ideas, who maybe, see an issue, have a problem, and they want to address them. So I saw that growing up in my family and also in my community in Nicaragua. And then it really helped me decide that I also wanted to continue working with entrepreneurs and helping them launch businesses that not only will help themselves and also their family, but also make an impact in local communities and our economies as a whole. So I'm very passionate about just like if you have an idea that you think that it could really, change your community or the world, I am the person to talk to. I can definitely spend hours talking about this, but my path was not linear. I think it took a lot of self-reflection, lots of world experiences, tons of different internships and apprenticeships that really led me to where I am right now. So that's a little bit about me. So yeah.
That's really interesting. I'd love to hear more about it. So our first question is, in helping entrepreneurs start their own businesses, what concepts have you identified as essential to take action and succeed?
Yeah. Oh, what a great question. So I think when we first connect with entrepreneurs, we think about sort of like what is the potential in that idea, and sort of like how much this entrepreneur has researched about this either problem or solution, and sort of like what does that look like. So for example, if you have a company, let's say a small business that's trying to put out maybe healthy vegan products for to expose folks to more organic and healthier products for personal care. We want to make sure that we are looking at sort of like is this person maybe an expert or has a lot of background in regards to, that area of expertise, or has experience making the products, or, has had validated the idea either through research, through lived experiences, or has maybe partnered with other entrepreneurs that can make this idea a reality. So I think when we look at first, just like vetting ideas, we think about how can we, how much does this person know about a solution, and is this the right person to bring it to life? We also look at in regards to like coachability. I think how much someone can have an idea and they may need help, but they also need to be able to work together in teams, work together with people who want to help them, bring customers along, interview folks, really be ready to take feedback, be ready to ask many questions. Just thinking about sort of like, is this person someone who who wants to really not be afraid to reach out, not be afraid to ask questions, not be afraid to learn something new if they need to. So there's a lot of sort of like, resilience in entrepreneurship. There's a lot of, being able to not be afraid to ask the tough questions or to get the tough feedback, and then just to be able to iterate and continue improving on products and services or ideas. So I think there's a little bit of just like, being a good listener, being a good communicator, and also being action oriented, right? Once you get feedback, once you get research, how do you take that into improving your product or service? And that eventually will help you build that business.
Yeah, definitely. And at the PJH Lab, where startups and city government connect to test products and services, how does open-mindedness come into play?
Yes, so PGH Lab was a program that I helped launch and manage at the city of Pittsburgh a few years ago, and I was there for 4 years. So when I think about sort of what open-mindedness looks like, I think about sort of being able to like work together with people coming from two different types of industries, right? So at the city, we're working with city employees trying to test new technologies with entrepreneurs. So, the public sector and the private sector coming together to create a new innovation or to test a new solution. So when it comes to open-mindedness, everybody, comes from different types of working styles or backgrounds, expertise. So open-mindedness is definitely needed in order to like, figure out sort of like what the main priorities are, figure out how to work together well, and then also figure out, what the goals and the deliverables needed to happen in order to make the projects and the test and the pilot testing projects a success. So yeah, open-mindedness, communication, being a good listener, and then just being willing to work well together, was definitely a key to success there.
That's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So we're going to move on to our next panelist. Ben, you are up.
Okay. So thank you, Anya and B, for your insightful answers. I really appreciated your take on entrepreneurship. Our next panelist will be journalist Natalie Bencivenga. Welcome, Natalie. And then could you please start off by introducing yourself with your personal and professional journey?
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to give a shout out. I just saw that Riverview High School is represented. That's where I went in Oakmont. Mr. Kubistek, I still can't call teachers by their first name. So hi to that class and to the school. I'm so excited that you guys are represented here today. But yes, thank you so much, Ben, for that introduction. I just wanted to start by saying I agreed with what Anya said about non-linear journeys, because I don't know very many people that at 18 years old, when you enter high school or trade school or move into the workforce, that end up where they're at. I'm 38 now, so 20 years later. So whatever you decide to do today, and whatever you take away from this, open-mindedness is the key word that I hope that you explore and travel and take in experiences and make friendships with people that don't have your lived experiences. So that to me really sets you in a good trajectory moving forward to creating sort of that global mindedness that the World Affairs Council of Pittsburgh promotes so well. So for me, myself, I went to the University of Pitt for undergrad. I studied biology and philosophy, got into medical school, talking about nonlinear, right? Decided not to go to medical school, ended up sort of getting lost for a little while, as I think we all should in our early 20s, and found my way into New York City and met someone up there, started an online webzine. Yes, kids, there was a time when there were online webzines and everything was in Adobe Flash. It was a wild west of sorts back in the mid 2000s. In the beginning of Twitter, it was a different world. And it was all about healthy relationships. It was called 2 Day Mag. And that really gave me the bug. I'd always loved to write and perform and learn and talk about people's experiences. And I had traveled a lot in my early 20s all around the globe and was just soaking up all of these ways to live that were valid and meaningful and so outside of my own experience. And I started doing a lot of media work up in New York and did that for about 5 years and got a crash course in all things social media and HR and learning how to run a business and a company. And then while I was in New York, I met someone, Dr. Mark Siegel, while I was doing Fox News shows of all things. And he said to me, you're really good at this relationship stuff. You should go back to school. And I said, oh, I'm not going to medical school. I don't want to do, I don't want to become a psychiatrist. He's like, what are you talking about? Pitt has one of the best social work programs in the country, So I said, cool. So while I ran the magazine around when I was like 25, 26, I decided to go back and get my master's in social work. And that was when I really learned about what it is to be in the world, because I experienced my communities that I had grown up with, but never had seen them from another perspective, and understood there was so much need for connection and for support and for help from one another. And so that totally grounded me in a different way. And I always say, I think everybody should have to get their master's in social work, because it makes you just a more in tune human to the world around you. And so then I applied for a job at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, which is where I landed for the next 6 years as the scene editor. And the scene was like a society page that did not resonate with me. I wasn't really interested in what the 1% were having for dinner at the opera gala. So I tried to ground that instead in the work of community and bring it more with a lens of social work. And I actually look at journalism to this day as a form of social work. And to me, not all communities were being represented equally in the newspaper or in media, as we see both on a national scale and locally. So I made sure one of my goals was that every community would be represented on those pages. And I ruffled some feathers in the process, which is good. If you're not ruffling feathers, then you're probably not making much of a mark. So through that experience, I built out a lot of other digital media projects. I won some awards for some of my work with podcasts that I did and digital programming that I did. And in 2020, I left the Post-Gazette right before the global pandemic hit to strike out on my own. And I started my own production company, Benci Productions. And I started my own consulting company called X Squared Media with my business partner, Sarah Bachnick. And Benci Productions, one of the first projects I did during COVID was called Heating Up. And it's a show you can watch on YouTube. And I started that with youth climate change activist Leandra Mira. And we focused on plant-based cooking meets conversations around the dinner table with thought leaders discussing climate justice and social justice. And I was really proud of that project. And now I'm working on some new stuff with the city paper and turned my focus to local politics to discuss all the candidates and issues that are happening throughout our county and throughout our state. So if you check that out on Instagram on the PGH City Paper account, you can watch those interviews. I'll be back in the fall to do some more, and I'm working on some other projects that I can't discuss yet, but hopefully they'll be off the ground soon enough. So yes, it's been a wild trajectory. I don't know where I'm heading next, but you just keep going. I think tenacity is like 99% of what success ends up being. And if someone says no, just think of it as not right now, try again later and find another way forward. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, I liked your information about perspective. So for going forward, how do you think that people should teach covering all perspectives in a journalism setting?
Yeah, when we're talking about journalism, I think what's concerning to me is we've really moved into different silos. And a lot of people, you can just sort of hear your own mindset over and over and over again if you want to, right? And that doesn't really get us anywhere, because a lot of the problems that we need to solve are going to take all of us from all walks of life to work on them. And so I would recommend getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of your silo, and having conversations in real life with people from different walks of life with different experiences, and do the same thing with your media. Research, where is the information coming from? How is it being backed? Is it backed in evidence? Is it backed in reason? Or is it just being backed by voices that want to hear themselves very, very loudly, but aren't really expressing anything based in reality? And so we need to be mindful as consumers what we're consuming, because you can consume junk food all day and you're not going to feel very good after a while. And it's the same thing with media. You want to make sure you're getting some vegetables in there too. I like
that analogy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Natalie and Ben. Our third panelist is Shenay Jeffrey, Interim Director of the Office of Pitt Serves at the University of Pittsburgh. Welcome, Shenay. Thank you for joining us. And we would love to hear about your own personal and professional journey and how you got to where you are today.
Awesome. Thank you, B. I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe it. I wish we were in person. I really do. I just love working with young people and talking and learning with you all. It's really such an honor. As we mentioned, my name is Shenay. I go by she and hers. And this is such a loaded question. I don't know. Sean said we got 5 minutes, but I'm gonna try real hard. But honestly, I'm just soaking in everything that's being said so far. So my journey really started in Guyana. Does anyone know where Guyana is? What continent? You can put it in the chat. It's okay. It's in South America, and this is my flag in the background. I just had to represent. So with that being said, I was born and I grew up in Guyana, South America, which is right on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, right next to Venezuela, right at the north of Brazil, and next to Suriname. We're the only English-speaking country in South America. However, there's a lot of dialect. We have a lot of Brazilian and Venezuelan influence and folks in the country at this time. So my journey started there, really along the lines, Guyana is a very multicultural society. We have a very heavy influence in religion, primarily in Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity. So a lot of my growing up and experience when I was younger really centered around exposure in those different religions, as well as we have 6 different ethnicities in the country. So very multicultural focus. From Guyana, I went to high school in the Bahamas, and that was a very different experience as well. And from there, I came to Pittsburgh. I came to the University of Pittsburgh at 17. Talk about a culture shock. So with that being said, it's really at Pitt that I started to embrace a lot of my journey of who I am and my identity and how I see the world and what I wanted to contribute to the world. And in staying in Pittsburgh throughout that time frame, going to higher ed in Carnegie Mellon. I went to Carnegie Mellon for my master's, and then completing my doctorate right now at the University of Pittsburgh in education. Those educational formal experiences really shaped a lot of how I think about where I grew up and what's important to me and what my passions are. And I always tell people my main audiences that I love to interact with are Black women, immigrants, and young people. That's my perfect Venn diagram. And I really get to interact with those audiences a lot being in student affairs at the University of Pittsburgh. And it's really there that I started to really embrace and really challenge myself in thinking about what does justice look like for the world that we're trying to build, and how powerful and motivational and inspirational young people really are in that space. And that's one of the reasons I just love working with folks in the young demographic. So with that being said, my journey has taken a lot of different turns and tolls. I actually came from undergrad to clinical research, and then really started volunteering a lot with various organizations in the city of Pittsburgh. One of my favorites being New Voices for Reproductive Justice. That is a phenomenal organization that really works towards the liberation of Black women, girls, and femmes. And it's just been such an eye-opening experience in how I think about what equity, what justice, and more so what liberation for Black women, girls, and femmes look like. So that's been a phenomenal experience, and it's really been a part of my identity as I move forward in my career.
That is so interesting. And as someone from Brazil, I definitely relate to the culture shock and coming to Pittsburgh. So our question is, what are certain skills you refer back to when working with communities to inspire them? Inspire activism specifically.
Certain skills. I think the soft skills are so important. I think very much, I think there's a certain understanding of your own privileges in the space. I think there's a reckoning that has to happen personally and individual level before even entering those spaces, and to know that some spaces are open to everyone, some spaces you're invited in, and some places you're not invited, they're closed spaces, right? And you have to honor each and every one of those things. And I think for me is really making sure that a knowledge base of making sure that the community is at the center of whatever change effort is being discussed or done. And I think that takes a lot of relationship building. I think that takes strong communication. And again, I think that takes a level of cultural competency depending on the situation. So with all of those things, I think once you have it, you can definitely inspire activism and inspire change, and know that you're one part of a larger ecosystem in many different ways.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. I love talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I appreciate your take on cultural competency. Now we're going to move to, who is it? It is John McCaslin, a retired ambassador and career diplomat, also a history teacher, if I understand correctly. All right, welcome, John. Could you please share with us your own journey and experience?
Thank you, Ben. It's happy to be here. Thanks for the promotion, Ben, but I wasn't an ambassador. I wanted to be, but was not able to do that. So was mainly a career diplomat. And as you mentioned, I was a high school history teacher at the beginning of my career for 4 years in Dayton, Ohio. And I, as a teaching moment, I just wanted to say how impressed I am with all the other panelists. With Anya, Natalie, and Shenay, what they have illustrated is the key ingredients for success in almost any career. They all are showing you that they have so much energy, enthusiasm, and openness, and that's why they're successful. So if you can live those qualities and work hard and be open, you're going to be successful at whatever you do. I'm at the end of my career, so looking back, I've noticed that those qualities really are the ingredients for a successful and productive career, almost no matter what you do. So quickly, I did teach history. I think everybody, I hope, still takes in the 9th grade the World Civilizations course. It's a whole year where you just learn about the whole world, civilization up to the present. Really good to have that broader knowledge. I also taught American government, which I hope you're all active in participating in our democracy. It's really under a lot of stress these days. So really important to understand how your government works. And don't forget, it's your government. So you got to participate. I joined the Foreign Service with the U.S. Department of State way back in 1985. So that's the main U.S. government foreign affairs agency, the U.S. Department of State. They run our embassies and consulates all over the world, headquartered in Washington, and lead and develop our foreign policy. And it's important to understand they represent multiple U.S. government agencies. in embassies and consulates around the world, you have multiple US government agencies that perform the international parts of their mission. So you have many US governments with up to 35 different agencies, especially in big embassies in big important countries where we have lots of relationships. So the main avenue for getting into the US Department of State to be a Foreign Service officer or diplomat is to take the Foreign Service exam. They're about to make that entry point much more accessible. The Foreign Service exam, typically 10 to 20,000 people take it every year and 3% pass. So what they're going to do is have the exam plus an interview and other exercises decide if you get through the first gate. It used to be if you didn't pass the exam, you can't even take the next steps to become a US diplomat. Now they're going to try to look at more background, a resume, who you are, where you came from, which is good because the United States Foreign Service, our diplomats should represent the diversity of our country. That's what's unique about the United States, as evidenced by the other panelists. We should make sure we're representative, diverse, and inclusive. And then there are other parts of the United States Foreign Service where you have diplomats. I worked for the State Department for 5 years as an economic officer in South Korea and in Washington. And you can also work for the US Department of Commerce as a diplomat promoting trade and investment and focusing on international trade and investment issues, which is where I spent most of my career. It's called the Foreign Commercial Service. You also have the US Department of Agriculture, which has its own Foreign Agricultural Service that represents American farmers and ranchers to help them promote the sale of their goods around the world. So these are economic development functions that commerce and agriculture do internationally. Very, very important. Represents how important exports and international trade are to our government and to our country. And then there are people with the US Department of Treasury. There are Treasury attaches assigned to particular embassies around the world and deal with international finance issues. Very important subjects with money flows, currencies, debt, all these big things. And the big international institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank play a key role around the world with our foreign policy and economic development. And then also wanted to mention, and then we can go to questions, how important the quality in any career you do, but especially in government and international, is your level of emotional intelligence. And big employers are starting to pay a lot of attention to that, including the US government, which is really important. And that simply has to do with being an active listener, having empathy, and then internationally and domestically, since we're a big diverse country, cross-cultural awareness. Just sort of understanding the people you work with, where they came from, be a good listener. And if you can incorporate that into your professional work, you're going to be successful. It's going to help you get along with everybody. Throughout my career, the people that don't do well don't seem to have much emotional intelligence and don't work together in a team. You got to get along with people, whatever your job is. And if you have a reputation that you're not able to do that, that's going to be a real obstacle for you to move forward. So I'll leave it at that and happy to take any questions and very happy to be here. And thank you to the council for including me.
I like that you mentioned the importance of soft skills. I'm wondering, you've worked in multiple countries, so I'm wondering, is there anything that was the same about working in multiple countries with your style of communication, and was anything different?
I think one constant is being a really good listener and sort of soaking up the atmosphere in the room and the people and the larger environment. What's really hard as a career US diplomat, you know, my wife and I moved 17 times, so you feel like you're never settled anywhere. And that's just part of your career. It makes it really interesting, but it means you sort of start over in your job. So you have to very quickly absorb a lot of new information about the environment. And in a lot of countries, I served in India and South Korea, which are very hierarchical, male-dominated societies. You got to pick up on that and be attuned to that. So really soak all that stuff up. And being Americans, and we have certain values about equality and diversity, we need to push back on some of these more traditional values where women really haven't been allowed access to the economy. We had a domestic staff in India and a housekeeper who lived with us, which is normal. That's an important job for her. But she wouldn't let my wife sit in my chair at the dining room table. She was a woman and I was her boss, and we just didn't understand that, but that was her milieu. That's what she was raised in. It was the man who was in charge. And India is one of those places that still struggles a lot with that. There's lots of issues with women's rights and so forth there. And it's just a function of a more traditional society that's going through rapid change and becoming very modern, but creates a lot of tension. But it's important for Americans to understand that background. But listening and understanding the people around you, figuring out how to work together as a team with the different kinds of people that are in your organization is always really important. It's always the same and requires a lot of effort.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really want to talk with you more, but I'm going to let everyone else talk with you a little bit. I'm going to pass it over to B, and she'll start the entire group discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. And thank you all for sharing your individual stories with us. We would love to learn more from each of you and from the whole group about the skills and experiences you have gained. We are now going to hold a 15-minute panel discussion followed by a Q&A session. As a reminder, you may submit questions for the panelists using the link in the chat. When you do, please include the name of the person asking the question and which school you are from. So our first question is for all of you, and it's, what is a paramount moment in your life that best shaped who you are today?
I could answer that. For me, it was in 2019, I lost my father and then my grandmother 3 months apart. And I think when you go through an experience of grief that is so transformative because those people were extremely close to me, it reprioritizes your whole life. And, you know, I was young when I was 35 when my dad passed. That's pretty young to lose a parent. And then to lose my grandmother so soon after, when she was like my bonus mom, that was a challenge. And so for me, it turned my whole world upside down. And I think that was a big reason that I left the Post-Gazette in 2020, because I realized that the things I was willing to put up with prior to that experience, I was no longer willing to put up with anymore. And I think you'll come to those points in your career or in your personal life where you start to recognize your own sense of power and your own sense of being and how you want to move in the world and what matters to you. And the recognition of it wasn't just enough to do things for myself anymore. I wanted to do things that were bigger than myself, that included community in a way that I think I'd been building towards, but hadn't fully actualized. And so to lose people, while it's devastating and horrible, it also can reshape the way that you move in the world and recognize your intrinsic connectedness and your collective humanity. And so for me, whenever I do things now, I'm like, is this working towards collective liberation? Is this inspiring people? Is this educating people? Is this activating people to make change in their little corner of the world? And how does that ripple effect impact and intersect with one another? And so when you're going through something really hard, you know, that old cliche, just keep going, but also don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, seeking grief therapy was the best thing I've ever done. Working on my mental health and recognizing I can't pour from an empty cup, and acknowledging that I'm just this little person in this big, big world. And there's so many ways to be, and working towards something bigger than myself was a way, I think, to heal. And that was what kept me going.
Thank you for sharing. And if anyone else would like to share a moment in their lives.
Yeah,
great.
I can share one for sure. So I think, and you know, it's sorry to hear that, Natalie, but I'm so happy that you use all of your learnings and grief to the collective power, and I am sure that your family members are still there with you, right? So, but now gives you strength and definitely continues to keep you going. But one of the things that I feel like I look back in that experiences that really changed my life was coming to the US. That was not planned. My family moved here because my dad got a job in Pittsburgh, and he moved my entire family and me here to the US. I didn't know English. I had to go to an English as second language program at Alderdice. I thought that as soon as I got to Alderdice, that the high schools look just like the movies. Everybody, like the cheerleaders to the football teams to all of the small groups and everything. And I was like, wow, this is just like the movies. And I never felt so alone in my life. That was one of the, first experiences as a young person to just feel really isolated, like on your own, just because of the language barrier. While I was there in high school, all of my classmates were also other ESL students coming from all over the world, Iraq, Somalia, Mexico, and it was my first experience to really to other cultures, other people that were non-Nicaraguan, and it was my first experience also thinking about what my identity looked like. I was just 100% Nicaraguan person for 16 years, and then came to the US, and I was considered an immigrant, minority, Spanish speaker, and many labels, I needed to navigate and digest as a young person. So I think it definitely, it was a big shock, but it led me to think about how I'm also part of a community. I think when I came to the US, the immigrant community welcomed me and showed me everything, anything from the bus system to where to eat to, how to say things. And so I took it upon myself to really give back to my community, to think about how, what justice and equity look like, and how also representation impacts many of us, right? I think when you come from a minority background and you find yourself in the tech space, in the business space and things like that, you will also find yourself alone again sometimes, because there's also not that much representation. So it takes me back to, when I moved to the US, and when I, managed to rise up to the challenge, and still, sometimes there's still challenging situations out there. So now it is my role to really figure out, how do I show up in these spaces, both not just for me, but sometimes either, for my community, and how do we make some change in regards to, representation, making sure that underserved folks are also showing up in spaces that are not necessarily seen, and what is my contribution, impact, and more social responsibility to really change our communities there. So I think I am very thankful, of the experience of having been able to come to the US, but not only just go through all of the challenges, but also think about what the opportunity is to change communities here now that home is here as well. And so yeah, I mean, I think, again, just being from just learning, reflecting, figuring out really what my role is, learning again, and reaching out to folks, sharing your story, finding your voice, are things that are still, that I still do right now, that I also faced when I was also most of you guys' ages right now.
Yeah, definitely. And Shenay, you had a similar immigrant story. So if you'd like to share that, that would be good.
Yeah, I mean, I totally resonate a lot with a lot of those things. My story very much, I immigrated twice. So once to the Bahamas, which was also similar in culture, but also very different. In the Bahamas, I experienced a lot in my family. It's this, like, when you're not Bahamian, or if you're not American, it's a lot harder for you there, especially with jobs and those kinds of things. So, it was very hard. And then we came to the United States, and I remember it sounds so silly. I have a picture somewhere, but I did not know how to dress for winter. I was like, what is this? Like, and my family, they're older, they're everything. They're like, put a scarf on, cover your head so you don't get sick, and a sweater and a jacket. And I'm like, oh, it's 50 degrees. That's so cold. And it was just, I mean, as a 17-year-old, you're trying to look cute. And I was like, this is not cute. But I didn't know what cute was in the winter. Like, that was a journey. That was a journey. So regardless, let me just say, I believe I've redeemed myself. But needless to say, like, that was also something that was very different for me. To this day, very much, cultural foods is a big thing. I remember, so this ties in a little bit to the work I do now with Pittsburgh, which we have a basic needs component in our office. And we have a food pantry on campus. However, when I went to Pitt, we did not have a food pantry. And I wish we did, because I very much was a student that needed it. I was classified as an international student, and I had to go through the whole green card process. But needless to say, as international students, you pay fully for school. You don't have access to financial aid or federal aid and those kinds of things. So regardless, food on campus was a big thing. And I was very much like confused by potatoes in the morning, like hash browns, like that situation. I was like, potatoes, like just, it was just a foreign concept to me. But also having access to culturally diverse food was also something that I was like, wow, like this is a challenge and a barrier within itself. So something that we're working on right now in our spaces is really thinking about how can we ensure that our students on campus also have access to culturally diverse food, because we do have a high population of international students that use our Pitt Pantry, and how can we extend that offering. So that all has come full circle. And being on the same campus that I was a part of, and as I was a student, really has a synergy and a connection to my work, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, if I would just only add very briefly, I really like what Natalie said about being part of something bigger than yourself. And that's what attracted me to international affairs and representing the US government, which is, really important work. When I was in college, I went to a Russian language study program in the Soviet Union in 1975. Was at a school at Moscow State University for about a month. And I remember this was the time when the Soviet Union, the United States, had active cooperative space programs. And we actually docked 2 spaceships in space, the Soyuz from the Soviet Union and the Apollo from the United States. And we were watching this on TV in the summer of 1975. And I was in an institute, the Patrice Lumumba Institute. And if you know who that is, that's really good. He's a great Congolese revolutionary from Africa. And other kids in the room were from North Vietnam, who were studying Russian in the Soviet Union in Moscow. In 1975, the war in Vietnam was winding down. It was a terrible situation for us, and we were roundly criticized by everybody in the world, justifiably. But I was sitting in a room with kids from North Vietnam, parts of Africa, watching a cooperative space program between the United States and Soviet Union, 2 adversaries. So I think, wow, this shows you that it's possible to do things like that international cooperation. And science and technology has always been an area where there's been tons of international cooperation. That's really, really good. And you have to work at it to maintain it. Obviously, today, the situation is very different with Russia. Who knows when we'll have normal relations. But it showed me you can get involved in things bigger than yourself. They're more important, and you can make a contribution and just go for it.
Wow, thanks. I appreciate everyone's response. I do have one from students. This one is for Natalie. This person said, what are the challenges associated with trying to communicate serious issues through writing?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I'll expand that from not just writing, but in different forms and different mediums as well. Because unfortunately, I'm going to tell you this straight up as a journalist working in many spaces. People aren't reading. They want to watch quick videos. They want to listen to sound bites, and they want to do it in 30 seconds. And they want you to digest. They want you to be able to send them a whole big issue that they can digest in that fast. So when you're talking about challenging issues, and it's funny that you bring this up because I was actually on a Zoom earlier with a couple of my friends in journalism talking about how do we get messaging across to people. Keep it simple. Speak the language of the audience that you're trying to communicate. And I don't mean you have to dumb things down or try to act in an inauthentic way. But what I'm talking about is cut through and get to the heart of whatever it is that you're trying to communicate to your audience, and do it in a way that is simple and easy for someone to understand, but also connects with them here. Because as we've seen, you can talk high-level rhetoric. You can message people till you're blue in the face. But you know what it is when people go in to vote, or when people talk to me about what issues connect with them, it's because it made them feel something. So when you're writing for an audience, it's different than writing for your teachers or for an academic study setting. When you're writing for an audience and you're trying to convey something challenging, ask yourself, what is it about this topic that is pulling at my heart? And how do I connect the heart to the head? How do I make what I'm feeling pragmatic, reasonable, and also what are the actionable steps that people can take in their own life to get us closer to where we want to go? And to me, that's how you can drill down from a big, intense topic to what is actually at the heart of it. And I've found from working with people from all walks of life, we all want the same things. And the problems that we're having is trying to communicate that and cut through a lot of politicized rhetoric. But at the end of the day, you know, the air we breathe, that isn't political. We all have to breathe that air. So finding those touch points with people that cut through a lot of our differences and recognizing all of our commonalities is a good way to start that journey and looking at that through that lens of social justice.
Yeah. And Natalie, I just shared in the chat, but that reminds me of the Maya Angelou quote. People always remember how you make them feel.
That's right.
And that's very true in terms of even communicating social justice issues. There's very much commonality that beyond the difference. I know for me, I tried to challenge myself to be in spaces. I think you said this, Natalie, from folks that are different from you. Right. And I even try it with music. I have a list. I don't know if anybody listens to Hot 97 in New York City, but on Wednesdays they have Whitish Wednesdays, and it's about like notable songs that, you know, from notable white artists. And I listen to it because I need to know about Johnny Cash. Okay, I need to know why these boots were made for walking too. So with that being said, like even in political spaces, I try to understand, you know, folks that are different from me, like where are they coming from? Right. What is it that they're really looking at? And it always comes down for me is some sort of value, some sort of like thing that they hold close to themselves or to their family. And usually I feel that may be threatened or that may be at compromise, but it's really about that feeling and that connection. So I just want to say and echo what you said, Natalie. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you to you both. And branching off from lessons, what are certain unique lessons that you gained from past experiences that now you teach to others? And this is a question to all.
I can jump in, kind of kick it off.
Yeah.
For me, I have discovered that through working with so many people in communities and from doing this work in media, that I think people make decisions about themselves, about the world around them, about the way they interact from people from two vantage points. They either make them from a place of fear or they make those decisions from a place of love. And I don't mean love in the cozy, kissy way. I mean love in justice as action, right? In action. So our decisions are either motivated by fear or they're motivated by a sense of love and justice. And I think when, to your point, Shenay, and that was what triggered my mind to think about that, what you were saying about how do we connect with people and how do we find them? If you're understanding what's motivating them, I think then you have a better chance of connecting with them on a human level and getting them to maybe think about an issue in a way that they wouldn't have prior. So if you're hearing people hitting something about feeling threatened, they're making decisions then based on that threat and based on that fear, whether it's actualized or imagined, right? So meeting them where they are in that space and saying, I hear you, I see you, maybe walk with me a little bit this way and let's talk about it from a place in a different space, in a space of justice and love. A lot of times you can actually get people to start to look at things from a different lens and a different vantage point. And that is something that I've learned through this work in media, is it's all about framing. How do we frame our topics? How do we frame our conversations? How do we frame our debates? Are we stepping into someone else's language and then trying to argue within that framework? Because you're not going to win that way. Or are we going to try to step out of that framework and redefine the space and figure a way forward together? And that's something I think I've picked up over time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I remember when I was talking to someone about how you should approach things, I always remembered that when you go like this, the first thing that someone will do is try and block you. And that's a way that you should always try and treat someone with respect. So I have a question for Anya now. How should we go about resolving issues that arise from language barriers?
It's a great question. I love all of these questions. I feel like this is something that I should always be, asking and bringing up in conversations, also in like my personal life. I think, like whenever, just like addressing sort of like language barriers and things like that, I think it comes from both sides, right? As a person who has been in the side of, not knowing English to trying to, communicate as clear as I can, but still maybe sometimes needing a little bit more help and things like that. I would say that, patience was something that I tried really hard to make sure that I will integrate, like I will have sometimes maybe folks who, are more patient than others. And it comes to like, when it comes to understanding an accent or trying to understand you a little bit more, or even seeing where you're coming from and your background. And that's always a really positive experience. But I have also, experienced the opposite, where folks have not been that receptive. And I think for me, it comes down to what others have said, to understanding people's motivation, or understanding that, sometimes you cannot control what other people are going to say. And, everybody, come from different places, maybe some of them from love, some of them from fear. So it's a matter of, putting perspective in that, and then not letting it really, sort of like get to you, just like moving on, taking it as an experience, as a learning experience, and just continue and move on. And from the other side, just like, I feel like I've, when there is an opportunity for a teaching moment, or for, explaining someone, hey, like, this is maybe how you sounded, this is what you meant, and, how can we meet in the middle? How can we understand each other a little bit better? I mean, I always taken, some space for also trying to bring people together to discuss how can we communicate better, how can we work better together if there are sort of like difficult situations going on in regards to maybe like a language barrier or a cultural barrier. So I think it takes a little bit of, definitely takes work from both sides, from the two sides, but just from a personal perspective, I would say, just don't be afraid to participate, to really practice your voice, practice being present. There are more people out there, that will be coming from maybe, that place of love, and, will want to like, understand you and work with you. And then if that doesn't happen, it's sort of like understanding that where that motivation is coming from, and then just like, taking more moments to learn and maybe teach others. But I think it just takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of self-reflection, and then just continuing, just not being afraid of being in those spaces, and participating and sharing your voice and what you have to do, because all of us have something to contribute in many spaces.
Yeah, definitely. And I liked what you said about how patience is the key to that. So, John, I have a question for you, and it's, how has leadership maintained a presence in your career journey?
Leadership. So are you talking about the people I worked for example, throughout the career? You always have bosses.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about this in relation to another question, something that was a formative event and you used to teach others. And this is sort of the larger, very difficult issue of when powerful people do things that are wrong. And in the US Diplomatic Corps, you have a chance to work for a lot of very powerful people. My last job was in Berlin at the US Embassy. Our ambassador at that time, this was during the Trump administration, was very controversial. He was someone that I really liked. He was a charming, engaging guy. He was the highest ranking homosexual person in the Trump administration as the US ambassador to Germany. I'm not going to mention his name. He also has a Pittsburgh connection, so Shenay may understand that, with one of the universities. But I was in meetings with him. And keep in mind, he's the personal representative of the President of the United States. He's above everybody. And in Germany, he's the top US government official. When the Secretary of State visits Germany, the ambassador is senior to him or her. So, it's a position that carries a lot of weight and someone we look up to. But what if that person blatantly breaks the law and you're in the room? What do? This was a case where we were meeting with a large German company that was merging with an American company, just to update us on the situation. In such cases, different government authorities have to give approvals for mergers for really big companies because their market share may be too big. The organization in the United States that does that is the Federal Trade Commission. And they were reviewing the application of this German company for a merger with a big American company. And the ambassador piped up and said, hey, a friend of mine is the head of the Federal Trade Commission. Can I do anything for you? And everybody in the room, all the career diplomats were like, you can't ask that. That's an independent regulatory process that you in the executive branch can't insert yourself into. That it's the rules, it's the law, it's the regulation, rule of law. Someone from the economic section, State Department person, he and I went to the attorney at the embassy, who's an FBI person, who's the legal attaché. And we said, the ambassador is doing this, and he agreed this is wrong. So we reported it, and we assume it went up the chain to the ambassador's office, but you don't know. But it's really important to do that, to hold people to account, right? And as we can all remember, in the Trump administration, there was a lot of that stuff going on. Not a lot of respect for career government employees, which is unfortunate. We're not perfect, but we're there trying to do our job. We work for whoever the president is. And it's really hard sometimes when your leaders set a bad example, but we all have to push back.
Yeah, I want to thank all of you for your thoughts. I know that we have a lot of unanswered questions, but we have to be conscious of time. And we're going to move on to our next activity, which is a workshop. So we're going to be bringing in Portia Obeng, who is a social media strategist with over 10 years of experience in social media strategy and content management. And she now works to help people and organizations understand how they can use social media and not let social media be used by them. She encourages them to step away from continuous mindless scrolling and figure out how to use social media to enhance their work, lives, and personal brands. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we're very excited to have you. Just know that you're on. There you go.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to open up my slides right now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. As you know, my name is Portia Obeng. I'm a social media strategist. I have been working in social media for a long, long time. And I'm here to give you a lot of the information that I have learned about LinkedIn. Okay. All right, there you go. That's LinkedIn. So I have been doing social media since 2009. It was my first job, one of my first jobs out of college. This was way back in the day, before Instagram existed, before Pinterest, before TikTok, before any of those things. And I'm here to teach you some of the stuff that I have learned about LinkedIn along the way. So this is going to be real fast, real furious. So make sure you have a notebook and a pen as you can get ready to write down this information. We're going to be talking about your cover photo, your profile photo, your headline, your about section, and experience. So your experience section is going to look a little different than somebody who has, post-college or college experience. Now, I'm not going to walk through how to set up a LinkedIn profile. It is similar to any other social media platform. You log in with your email address, you put a photo up there. The most important thing is you want to make sure you add your high school, or if you're already in college, adding your college to your LinkedIn profile. All right. If you happen to have to hop off before I get to the end, where hopefully I can answer some questions, please feel free to email me right here. That is my email address. Thank you very much. Okay, a quick icebreaker. If you could in the chat, please let me know who is currently your favorite YouTuber or your favorite TikToker or your favorite Instagrammer. If you could let me know in the chat real quick. My current favorite YouTuber is Fumi Desafold. She's considered older for YouTube because she started her YouTube channel in her late 40s, but she gives a lot of fantastic life advice. So I really enjoy her channel a lot. So if you could in the chat, just drop me who you like on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. Mr. Beast Ken. I haven't heard of Mr. Beast. Let's see if we get some other people. Emma Chamberlain. I have not heard of her either. Ria, I haven't heard of her either. Let me see if we can get one more good recommendation. I usually take these recommendations and look for them on YouTube. Let's see if we can get one more in the chat or one more person. No, if not, that's all right. Okay, let us get into this information. Oh, Kara, I haven't heard of this person either. Well, I got a lot of people to look up. Okay, so let's get into this information. So LinkedIn is the most powerful professional online networking tool with over 700 million users and growing. During the pandemic, LinkedIn really grew a lot. And the United States has the most users at 171 million users. Can you in the chat give a guess of which country has the second most users in the world? Can you in the chat take a lucky guess? Let's see. Somebody can guess. Going once. Going twice. France that's a good guess. I'll just go ahead and give it to you. Also, India has the second most users of LinkedIn users in the world. But this is just a quick snapshot to let you know that LinkedIn is global. A lot of people are using it. So if you're interested in, international fellowships, internships, whatever it may be, LinkedIn has a ton of jobs posted on there every single day across the globe. And this gives you a good snapshot. If you do not have the LinkedIn app, I highly recommend that you download it. You won't need it for today's information, but there is more functionality on the app than there is on the desktop version. So what I'll be showing you right now is the laptop version of LinkedIn. We're going to talk about the cover photo first. So the cover photo, it appears behind your profile photo, and it's in the introduction part of your profile. It is this area right up here. But when I'm perusing around LinkedIn, I see that a lot of people will just leave this as the default graphic that comes with your LinkedIn profile, or they won't even have anything up there, or they have a picture that makes no sense whatsoever. But your cover photo is basically your billboard. It gives people some insight into the work that you are interested in, or things that you're interested in studying before they even get down to your profile. Let me give you an example. When I was in undergrad, I studied marketing. And when I was in high school, I had a good, just like a very good interest in marketing. So what you could do is find a free stock image and you could find it, anything related to marketing or whatever field of study you're interested in or whatever you're passionate about the most. And then you can make that your cover photo. Here's another example of somebody who was really into biology. And there are two places you can find these free stock images that I highly recommend. You see them on the bottom of the screen right there, pexels.com and unsplash.com. Again, it's pexels.com and unsplash.com. And you just want to make sure that the photo that you download from one of these websites is at least 1583 by 396. So again, the dimensions are 1584 by 396. And any topic you're interested, if you're interested in tech, you can go on the website, search for technology. There's a bunch of photos. You can choose one and make that your cover photo. Interested in government, history, poli-sci, whatever it may be, go on one of these websites and find yourself a stock image. Now, if you have design skills, I highly recommend that you make your own custom cover photo. If you're like me and you don't have any design skills at all, you can use a website called Canva, and you can use a template. Now on Canva, these cover photos are called LinkedIn banners. If you hear somebody say a LinkedIn banner, a LinkedIn background photo, or a LinkedIn cover photo, they are all talking about the same thing. LinkedIn banner, LinkedIn background photo, LinkedIn cover photo, it's all the same thing. And the great thing about Canva is that you can find a LinkedIn cover photo template on the website. But when you're searching for it on Canva, it will be called a LinkedIn banner. But what you're going to do is find yourself a template that you like, and then you're going to create a custom cover photo that is related to the things that interest you, things that you're passionate about, and the things that you want to study. So again, I focused on marketing, writing, and business. When I was in undergrad, I had a strong interest in it when I was a senior in high school. So that is what I put on this cover photo right here. Okay, give me a 2 in the chat if you are with me and you understand how you can update your LinkedIn cover photo. Give me a 2 in the chat if you are with me and you see, all right, Ben's with me, Bria's with me, Ken's with me, fantastic, Hannah's with me, Melissa's with me. Great, great, great. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the profile photo. You must, absolutely must have a LinkedIn profile photo. If there's one thing you do today, make sure you have a profile photo. Now, a lot of people think that your profile photo has to be some stuffy, boring photo, like you have to be in a suit, you know, a blue blazer, or whatever it may be, but that's the old school LinkedIn. You can show off your personality in your profile photo. And the reason why it's so important for you to have one is because it really helps with your visibility. Basically, all LinkedIn is about is increasing your visibility to people who are in industries you're interested in working in, who are going to universities that you're interested in going to, who are working in jobs that you may be interested in doing. That's what LinkedIn is about. So if you have a cover photo, you already increase your visibility in a very easy way. So people with cover photos get about 21 more times views on their profiles than those without profile photos, okay? And then they also get about 9 times more connection requests to their profile. Now, here's a couple things to keep in mind. Like I mentioned, you do not have to have a boring, stuffy photo, but there are things to keep in mind. You want to make sure that you have a photo that is not very visibly a selfie. There are some people who are excellent at taking selfies. I'm not one of them. If you're not great at taking selfies, then don't use one. And yes, you do want to show off your personality, excuse me, but you want to make sure that you are appropriately dressed. You don't be dressed like a cast member of the show, All American. And then lastly, you want to make sure that you have good lighting. That is very, very important. There are a couple options for you to get a new profile photo. If you already have one that you love, you look open, friendly, and inviting, go ahead, use that photo, go for it. And you want to make sure, here's a key thing, you want to make sure that about 80% of your face is covering the photo. So you don't want a photo that is out wide, you want it more close on your face. And if you're in need of a new photo, there are so many options for you. What you can do is get yourself a phone tripod. You can get these anywhere nowadays, from Amazon to Target to Marshall's, everywhere. They have phone tripods everywhere. And what you can do is go outside during the golden hour, which is about 1 hour before sunset. The lighting is amazing. It's called the golden hour for a reason. Your skin's gonna look fantastic. And then you can take your photo outside. You also have the option of taking your photos inside and using a ring light. Again, you can find these anywhere from Amazon to Target, everywhere. They sell ring lights everywhere these days. And then you can set up your own photo shoot inside of your home. Of course, you can ask a friend or a family member to help you out. And if you are in need of some good tips to help you get a great photo, what you're going to do is enroll in an online course. in one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and that is YouTube University. If anybody enjoys going on YouTube University and learning new things, a how-to video here and there, give me an I do in the chat. If you enjoy YouTube University as much as I do, give me an I do in the chat. So basically, YouTube has a bunch of tutorials that you can access that give you information on how to get the perfect photo. And the reason why I use this example right here, she had a tutorial on how to self-portrait. It was because you can see the photo on the left and the photo on the right are great photos that she could use for her LinkedIn profile. And they're ones that people traditionally would not think of, oh, this is a professional photo. It's a fun photo that shows off her personality, and they would both be great on LinkedIn. Now, there's another university that is quickly rising in the ranks. It is a fun university. It's TikTok University. And on TikTok University, there are, again, a ton of tutorials from models, actresses, photographers, influencers who show you how to get the perfect photo. Okay? Give me a 3 in the chat if you are still with me and you understand the importance of having a great LinkedIn profile photo. Okay, excellent. Kathleen's with me, Ben's with me, Hannah's with me, Melissa's with me. Fantastic. Now, when you do take your photos, if you need to do any light editing on your photos, there is, a ton of photo. I'm sure you have plenty of photo editing apps on your phones, but here are just a couple that I recommend: VSCO and Snapseed. I'm certain you can recommend a ton of other apps that you can use for your phone, apps on your phone that you can use to edit your profiles. Okay, now we're going to be going on to fill in ourselves. And the reason why we will be filling ourselves is because we will be talking about our LinkedIn headline. Now we're going to get into the meat of your LinkedIn profile. Your LinkedIn headline, it describes what you do, and it's one of the first things people see when they're viewing your profile. So they're going to see your cover photo, right? You're going to have a great branded cover photo. Then they're going to see your profile photo where you're going to be smiling, open, inviting, showing off your personality. And then they're going to see your LinkedIn headline. That is this area right up here. That is your LinkedIn headline. When I'm perusing around LinkedIn, I see that a lot of people will simply just have student at, whatever high school, rising senior at whatever high school, or student at whatever university they attend. But the thing about LinkedIn is it is a keyword-driven platform. A keyword-driven platform means that the more keywords that you include from industries that you're interested in, fields that you're interested in studying, the higher probability your profile has of showing up when somebody is conducting a search on LinkedIn. So you want to include as many keywords as possible in your headline and your about section and your experience section. Again, you want to include as many keywords as possible from the industry you're interested in, from the field of study you're interested in, whatever you're interested in majoring in, or whatever you're majoring in currently. You want to include as many keywords as possible in the headline, the about section, and the experience section. But now we're going to talk about the headline right here. So this area right up here, you want to use keywords as related to your industry or whatever you want to major in, whatever you're studying, and you want to utilize 220 characters with spaces. That's what LinkedIn gives you to use in the headline area. Now, 220 characters with spaces can get a little bit jumbled in this headline area right up here. So I recommend that you use about 150 to 170 characters with spaces. And then let me give you an example of what this looks like. So here is Alicia Smith. She's a student and she's interested in political science. Now there is a prestigious program that she's really interested in applying to, but the only way that she can find out how to apply to this program is if she gets sent the application. So it just so happens that the woman who is the program manager for this prestigious, wonderful program is on LinkedIn, and she's looking for these people in high school to send this great application to so that they can fill it out. But the people that she's looking to send this application to, they need to have a couple things already in their purview. They need to have a couple things that they're already working on that she wants to see displayed in the LinkedIn profile. So this woman who is a program manager of this prestigious program, she has the application. She's looking for people to send it out to. She goes on LinkedIn and she searches for some specific words that will help her target the right people to send this application to. So these specific words are political science, history, research, and policy. You see those words at the bottom of the screen. So political science, history, research, and policy. The problem is Alicia only has student in her LinkedIn headline. But she loves political science. She loves history and she loves researching. So what she can do is use about 150 to 170 characters with spaces, and she can glow up her LinkedIn headline. And it can look a little something like this. So a political science enthusiast and history lover. Research and policy are my love languages. Looking forward to going to Howard University this fall. Let me let you get a closer look at this. So the old headline said student, the new headline, a political science enthusiast and history lover. Research and policy are my love languages. Looking forward to going to Howard University this fall. Can you do me a favor in the chat and can you type some of the keywords that were at the bottom of the screen in the previous screen that the woman with the prestigious program, looking for people to send the application to, what were some of the keywords at the bottom of the screen that Alicia was now able to incorporate into her new improved glowed up headline? What were some of those keywords? If you can type some of them in the chat for me, let me know. Yes, Ben, you got it. Research and policy is one of them. Oh, Hannah, you got all of them. All right, gold stars for Hannah. Excellent, excellent. Yes, so you're picking up what I'm putting down. I love to see it. Okay, I'm gonna give you some examples of people who are real people, but they do not have LinkedIn profiles. I just made up these headlines for them, but the headline should be so good that you should be able to guess who this person is, okay? I just wanna make sure you're following how you're gonna make a great headline. The old headline says professional athlete. The new headline, I'm a champion athlete with a deep passion to have fun while winning. 4-time Olympic gold medalist, 19-time world gold medalist, and the GOAT. Can you in the chat guess who this person is? I'll give you one hint. It is a woman. Oh no, I gave it away. Yeah, so it is Simone Biles, who can do amazing things like that. That is Simone B. Biles. Okay, I'm gonna give you another one. This one's a little more difficult, so I'll give you a couple more hints. But the old headline is actress. Again, it's a real person. She doesn't have a LinkedIn profile. I made this one up for her. The new headline is actress, singer, producer, entrepreneur, activist, philanthropist, fashion icon, and Emmy Award recipient. This young woman is another woman. She has a very popular show on HBO. It is well liked. It's a popular and controversial show on HBO. If you can guess who this young woman is, she's an actress. She is quite popular. If you can in the chat. Going once. Oh, Hannah, you got it. Ben, you got it. Queen Z herself, Zendaya. Indeed, if you haven't seen her lip sync battle, she does a fantastic impression of Bruno Mars. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend that you check that out. Okay, let me let you go back. I'm gonna go back and just go through the various formats for your LinkedIn headline. Here, as a reminder, we had Alicia, a political science enthusiast. This is the sentence format. This is when you're able to incorporate those various keywords from the majors you want, the industries you're interested in entering to, and you're able to incorporate those keywords into a couple sentences in your headline. That's the sentence format. Then we have here, sentence followed by some accomplishments. So you can do your sentence here, and then you see the accomplishments. So the gold medals and then being the GOAT, those are the accomplishments. So if you have any awards, any accolades, any things like that, you can include those in your headline. And then we have the last one, which is all keywords. So you can use all keywords as they relate to the industries that you're interested in or whatever you're interested in studying. So those are your elements for your LinkedIn headline. Give me a 5 in the chat if you understood the importance of having a good LinkedIn headline that has keywords speaking to the things you do. All right, fantastic. You all are with me. Kathleen's with me. Excellent. Ben's with me. Ken's with me. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to talk about our receipts. So your receipts are your about section. So this is a statement or expression of your mission or your motivation, and it's an overview of your professional life. You may be thinking, well, how much of a professional life do I have? Well, let me tell you, this is why I'm going to get on my soapbox for just 1 second. Because when I'm working with students, when I'm presenting with students, they always say, well, I don't have enough experience. Okay. If any of these statements that I read out are resonating with you, go ahead and type a 1 in the chat if any of these statements that I read out are resonating with you. Okay. On your LinkedIn profile, what you want to do is make sure that you tell people about the experiences that you've had. But I hear a lot of people say, oh, especially if they're in high school or in college, they'll say, oh, well, I don't have enough experience. So if this resonates with you, give me a 1 in the chat. Or they may say, everyone else is so far ahead of me. They may be thinking that. If that is resonating with you, give me a 1 in the chat. Okay, or people may say, I should be doing more. If that's resonating with you, give me a 1 in the chat. Okay, so this is relatable content. The thing is, I tell young people all the time is that everything you're doing is experience. It's all experience. It's just a matter of you finding out how you can communicate that. And I find that a lot of times the people who really know what they're doing, who are really passionate about certain things, those are the ones that tend to be quieter. But the people who are loud and wrong are really loud and wrong. So today is a day that we're going to stop minimizing the things that we're doing, stop minimizing the work that we're doing. We're going to stop selling ourselves short, okay? And when I talk about people being loud and wrong, this is an example that I want to present to you. Can you in the chat let me know if you know who this young woman is on this magazine cover, this old magazine cover right here? Can you in the chat let me know if you know who she is? Let's see if somebody can guess in the chat. Yes, Hannah. It is Elizabeth Holmes indeed. Gold stars for Hannah again. So Elizabeth Holmes, if you have not heard about her, she was the former CEO, founder of a company called Theranos, where she said that she invented a way to test for tons of diseases with using just a very, very, very small vial of blood. Now, if anybody knows anything about going to the doctor, they just have not figured out the technology on how to test for that many diseases with that small vial of blood. So Elizabeth is a fraud. She is fraudulent. Okay, she is a grade A fraud. So much of a fraud that there are documentaries about her, there's movies about her, but you see that vial right there in her hand. That's how much blood she said she needed to test for tons of diseases. And the reason why she's a fraud is because she had no medical degree. She didn't really know what she was talking about. She was really making it up as she went along. But I found throughout my career is that a lot of people who are the loudest maybe don't really know what they're talking about. So it's up to you to really share the information and knowledge that you know. Talk about the results that you are delivering. Talk about the work that you are doing, and stop selling yourself short. You know, you're doing just as much as anybody else, and you're exactly where you need to be. You just have to really tell people, here is the value that I'm bringing. These are the results that I'm delivering. This is the work that I'm doing. These are the things that I'm passionate about. That's really all you have to do. You already have everything you need inside of you. You already have these skill sets. You already have these passions. It's just a matter of you letting people know about them. So I just have one favor for me, if you can do real quickly. If you could in the chat, just type, I will not sell myself short. 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 Put in the chat and just type that for me, because now, as you work on your LinkedIn profile, you're not going to sell yourself short. You're not going to sell yourself short when you're applying to colleges, when you're applying to part-time jobs. It doesn't matter. Oh, Kathleen's got all the exclamation points. It's fantastic. You all are with me. Okay, Melissa, Bria, all with me. Ken with me. Kara's with me. Kathleen's with me. Sean's with me. Ben's with me. Excellent. Yes, we're no longer selling ourselves short. You're doing a lot, right? It's just a matter of you being able to tell people what I'm doing. So I'm going to show you how in your LinkedIn About section. As I mentioned, you want to use those keywords as it relates to your industry in your headline, your about section, and your experience section. So your LinkedIn about section, you're going to tell people what you do, how you do it, and why you're so good at it. And LinkedIn gives you 2,600 characters with spaces to do so. So you get 2,600 characters with spaces to do so. But here's what I usually see. High school and college students, they'll say, I'm a rising senior and I love writing. You are definitely selling yourself short if your about section looks like this, but you can glow it up. Okay, because not today, Satan, we're not going to get stuck. We're not going to get stuck and we're not going to sell ourselves short anymore. What you can do is glow up your about section by answering these prompts right here. So you might want to screenshot this, or I can send the questions out so that they can be distributed to you all. I can probably send them to Sean. Maybe he can distribute the questions to you. But here are some prompts that you're going to answer that are going to help you with your about section. Not only are they going to help you with your about section, but they're going to help you if you have interviews for internships, apprenticeships, great summer camps that you're interested in going to. These are going to really help you talk about your passions and the things that you want to do. So what you want to do is start your about section with a fun fact about why you're interested in pursuing a specific degree, why you're interested in studying something, or why you're interested in a specific industry. Okay, so this woman right here, the example that I have, is a writer, and she knew that she wanted to become a writer when she went to her first book festival as a child. Now, here's the very, very, very important part. What exactly do you do? This is where people sell themselves short the most, but as you all typed in the chat, you're no longer going to sell yourself short. So what you're going to do is really focus on the things that you do without discounting everything that goes on in the middle. So you are writing, so the example that I give here, she's writing and she's studying writing, and she's also been able to pitch her writing to some publications. If you even have, I'm just giving an example of a writer, like even if you have a blog that you write on personally, if you have sent your blogs to local publications, if you've written for the school blog, whatever that can be, that is all experience. And then also your classroom work, or if you're in college, your coursework, all of that is experience, okay? But you want to focus on the skills that you are doing this. So most writers will say, oh, I just write. But no, a lot of writers are great researchers. They're great at storyboarding. They're great at editing. So really tap into the things that you do well in terms of helping you with the area of study that you're interested in or the industry that you're pursuing. All right, so let me give you this other example. Okay, so what are some of the best moments in your internships, your apprenticeships, or maybe some of your favorite projects that you've worked on in school, whether it's in the classroom or the organizations or clubs that you're working with? Here I gave an example of some of the things that she has done as the writer. Again, this person I just made up. Here are some of her favorite projects. The main purpose of you for including these in your profile is not selling yourself short and demonstrating that you know how to do the things that you're interested in pursuing. And then the last thing is a call to action. You always want to end your LinkedIn profile with a very clear call to action, asking people to do something. So this young woman right here wants to connect with people who are already professional writers. So she says, connect with me if you're already a professional writer. She's looking to learn more about the work that they do to see if it's something she actually wants to pursue full time. And then what you do is you take those prompts, you mix them all together, and then you get yourself a good about section. Don't get stuck on the prompts. Spend about 30 minutes and don't mute yourself. Write as much as possible as you want. Or if you even want to do a voice, talking it out on voice using Google Talk to capture your voice, you can do that as well. But just make sure you do not mute yourself, right? Just don't mute yourself and just focus on the things that you do and the results that you are delivering. If you are with me and you understand the importance of having a great about section, give me a 7 in the chat. If you understand the importance of having a great about section. Okay, you all are with me. Excellent, we love to see it. That's great, that's great. Thank you so much. Okay, your experience section. It's information about your past or current roles. Now, this is the area where high school students, college students, they get stuck the most, as they'll say, well, I don't have a lot of experience. As I already mentioned to you, everything is experience. Now, with LinkedIn, they do have a specific experience section where people will add jobs. So let's say you've had a part-time job, an internship, an apprenticeship, an externship, things like that. You can add that directly to the experience section on LinkedIn. But where for a lot of your experience is going to come from the organizations and clubs and volunteer experience that you have. And LinkedIn has a section specifically for that. So I'm going to show you how to add that to your LinkedIn profile. What you're going to do is you're going to go after your profile is all set up, right? You got your cover photo, your profile photo, your headline, and then you're going to go to add a section. Okay, add a profile section right there. After you press that, this is going to pop up. And what you're going to do is press additional right there. And then after you press additional, this is going to pop up. So this is what you're going to do to add to your profile to really focus on the work that you're doing. So look, you got volunteer experience, projects, and organizations. Like I told you, everything is experience. So your volunteer, your projects you're working on in class, the organizations and clubs that you're a part of on campus and school, those are all experience. So I'll give you an example of what this looks like. So I just make this up. The organization is We Get Money. I'm the president of We Get Money, and it's associated with the school that I went to in undergrad. You can add your high school to LinkedIn, or if you're in college, you can add your college. You just want to make sure that you designate this area right here where it says associated with. You want to make sure that you include your school. All right. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you so much. I'm glad the students were able to enjoy. Okay, so then here, after we've added, We Get Money, the position held, whatever position it was, associated with the school, you want to make sure you include your school that it's associated with. Then you add the years that you were active in it. So September 2020, and then the description. So curated, coordinated with Normani's team to curate an experience, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you more about how to create a great description. Okay. Oh, then you're going to click save. Save is very important. Save is very important. Okay. Give me a 4 in the chat if you understand how you're going to add these specific sections to your LinkedIn profile so you can really capture your volunteer experience, your projects, your organizations. All right. You all are with me. Fantastic. We love to see it. All right. So how are you actually going to talk about this experience? What you're going to do is you're going to use the STAR method. It's usually recommended for interviews, but it works really well on LinkedIn. So with the STAR method, you talk about the situation, the task, the action, and the results. But typically on LinkedIn, you don't really need to explain the situation. Explaining the situation usually works when you're doing interviews. But on LinkedIn, you really only have to focus on the task, the actions, and the results. And as we said, we're no longer selling ourselves short, okay? Right? So the results is where you really want to talk about what happened after you did the task and you took the action. Let me give you an example. So this is the experience that you're going to include in your volunteer section, in your project section, and your organizations and club section, okay? This is the experience. Here is an example. So this young woman, she writes for the local, for the school newspaper. So the old bullet point is research and information about Uma Beauty. Research information for an article about Uma Beauty. The new bullet point is spearheaded research project for a feature article about the rise of Uma Beauty. Conducted interviews with local makeup artists, collected product reviews, and compiled information into a proposal for the senior editor. Give me an I do in the chat if you see how she was able to glow up her bullet point and really focus on the task she had to complete, which was to write the feature article. Give me an I do if you understand how she was able to glow up the excellent. Excellent, you all are with me. Fantastic. Yes, so the task was she had to do the research project for the article. So action that she took was she conducted the interviews with the makeup artist and she collected all the product reviews. And then the result was that she compiled a proposal for the senior editor. Okay, old bullet point, created graphics for prom. New bullet point, collaborated with art teacher to brainstorm visual assets for prom 2022. Used Photoshop to create 25 graphics for digital and print distribution. Prom-related social media posts received over 1,000 likes and 350 comments collectively. Give me another I do in the chat if you can see how this bullet point was blowed up. How you're going to speak to your experience section. Yes, excellent. Thank you. I'm glad you can see it. You all are with me. That's fantastic. Again, so this is the experience that you're going to include in your volunteer, organizations, projects, These are the sections you're going to add to your LinkedIn profile, and this is how you're going to talk about the work that you do. All right. I'll probably also send these links to Sean as well, so you can distribute it to you all, but they're great articles that give you fantastic action words that you can use on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. For my purposes, I access this when I'm using and updating people's LinkedIn profiles so that you don't have to say the same words over and over again, like worked on or created, things like that. These have great words that you can use in your LinkedIn profile. Now, keywords, keywords, keywords. Let me give you a quick pop quiz. Where did I say that you're going to include the keywords on your LinkedIn profile? Oh, yep, the headline. You got it, Kathleen. There's two more places that you're going to include those keywords. See if people got them. I did sneak them in there. Let's see. Going once. Going twice. Okay, so the other places, okay, about section, Ben, you got it. Okay. Well, in the interest of time, so you are going to include the keywords in your headline, your about section, and your experience section. Fantastic. You may be wondering, where do I find these keywords? What are they? Where do I find them? Well, here's how you're going to find them. You should most likely, when you're doing this, use the laptop version of LinkedIn. That's probably going to work the best. What you're going to do is when you're on your LinkedIn homepage, you're going to press the Jobs tab. And then after you press the Jobs tab, you're going to get this screen right here. And what you're going to click on is Resume Builder. You're not building a resume to actually apply to anything. You're building a resume from your LinkedIn profile. You see here, you're going to create from your profile so that you can get insights for formatting issues, keywords, and more. Here, what we're only going to be paying attention to are the keywords. Because you are creating the LinkedIn profile from because you're creating the resume from your LinkedIn profile, you're going to be able to see if you have enough keywords from those specific jobs you're interested in, or maybe the industry you're interested in pursuing, or the major you're interested in pursuing. You're going to see if you have those keywords in your LinkedIn profile. After you press create from profile, you're going to get a prompt that asks you, so what are the desired job titles? So for me, I just put social media intern. So whatever you're interested in, doing, just make sure you put intern at the end, and then you press apply, and then you get this. So what LinkedIn does is they take your profile and they create a resume. Again, you're not going to use it to apply to anything. Nobody's going to see it. You're just using it to check for keywords. You see here on the right side of the screen, it says keyword check. So what LinkedIn did is they went on the back end and they looked at all of the job postings on LinkedIn that mentioned social media intern. And then they found that the most keywords that show up in these job postings and job descriptions are the ones seen right here. So again, whatever you're interested in, you're just going to put intern at the end. And then you're going to run this. And then you'll see right here, it says suggested keywords. So these are keywords that you haven't yet included in your LinkedIn profile. And LinkedIn has some right there. You also see here that it says at the bottom, unlock 7 more keywords by using LinkedIn Premium. Don't even bother with LinkedIn Premium. You do not need it at all, especially if you're high school or college. You don't need LinkedIn Premium. All you have to do is if you have any of these skill sets that they recommend. So for me, for example, if I had copywriting skills or online marketing skills, I could go ahead, add those to my LinkedIn profile. I would add it in my about section, headline, or experience section. And then I would just run that whole thing again, that process that I went you through, where you create your profile, you create a resume from your profile, and just run the process again. And then you should get a couple more different suggested keywords in this area right here. If that made sense to you, give me a 10 in the chat. Oops, if that made sense to you, give me a 10 in the chat. If that made sense, how you're going to find the keywords for your LinkedIn profile. Excellent. You all are with me. We love to see it. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. That is a LinkedIn glow up. I know I gave you a lot of information in a little bit of time. We talked about your cover photo, your profile photo, your about section, your headline, and your experience section. This is the LinkedIn glow up. I'm just kidding. We have a bit of a bonus, okay? A quick bonus for you all. One of the most useful things LinkedIn is going to be most helpful for you at this point in your career, at this point in your life, is for networking. LinkedIn is a great place for you to connect with people who are doing work you may be interested in, who are attending schools that you may be interested in attending, and doing the things that you want to do. So let me give you an example of what this looks like. What you're going to do is when you're connecting with people on LinkedIn, I'm going to show you how to send them a message so that you can set up a casual conversation with this person. A lot of people call them informational interviews. I like to call them just casual career conversations. What you'll do is find the person whom you want to connect with on LinkedIn. You'll press connect. And then here it says you can add a personalized note to your invitation. When you are connecting with somebody new on LinkedIn, you will always, 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 always add a personal note. Always add a personal note, okay? And here's what the pop-up looks like after you press that you're gonna add this personalized note. It says here, build a quality network by connecting with only people you know. This defeats the purpose of networking, so please ignore that completely, pay no attention to it. And then you see right below that, it says that the message is optional. Is the message optional? Let me know in the chat, is this message optional? Exactly. You all were listening and paying attention. We love it. Thank you so much. So the message is not optional, okay? You want to make sure you always include a message. And then you see here, it says LinkedIn Premium. Don't even bother with LinkedIn Premium because you have more than enough characters in the spaces to get your message across. Let me give you an example of what it looks like. So here's a message you can send to somebody. Hi, Myleek. I recently listened to your podcast interview on the Friend Zone. It was amazing. I'm attending Howard in the fall and I loved hearing that you went there. Do you have 15 minutes next week to chat? I'd love to hear more about your experience. Thanks. And then you see, I didn't even use all of the 300 characters. It's a great message. It gets my point across and it just starts the conversation. Excuse me, I need some water. Okay. See, that's very easy. If you understood what I was picking, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, give me a 2 in the chat. If you're picking up what I'm putting down about how you can send people messages and connect with them on LinkedIn, give me a 2 in the chat if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Fantastic, fantastic. Now, if you do send somebody a message like this and you don't hear from them, who cares? Move on to the next one. Like I said, there's 700 million people on LinkedIn. Somebody is going to answer you. So keep moving forward. If you feel nervous about sending somebody a message, I completely understand. I was very nervous when I started connecting with people on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn has really grown and evolved in the past 2 years where people are way more open to connecting and having conversations. And in fact, there was a young woman last year who was trying to decide between going to 2 different universities. One of the universities that she was deciding between was one that I went to, and then another one that I had a lot of information about because one of my close friends also went to it. She was a high school senior. She sent me a message and she asked for 20 minutes of my time. I gave her an hour of my time because I was so happy to see, a young woman reaching out to me who was that invested in making a great decision. Well, one of the most important decisions of her life. So yes, if somebody doesn't respond to you, move on to the next one. There are so many people on LinkedIn who are doing work that you may be interested in. So you can reach out to them if they're in an industry that you're interested in, if they're working at, if they're attending a university that you're interested in, or they're a professor at a university that you're interested in. There are just so many options for you on LinkedIn. Okay, I am finished for real now. That was a lot of information and a little bit of time. The best thing about LinkedIn is to stay active. You may think again, well, what do I have to share? You have plenty to share. Like I told you, everything is experience. You have a lot of things that you can share on LinkedIn. I know I gave you a lot of information and a little bit of time, but like I said, you already have the skill sets, you already have the knowledge, you're doing the work. Everything is experience. You're young, you're figuring things out. You're in a great place in your life, a great place in your life. You have so many options. When I was y'all's age, I did not have these options. My job didn't even exist when I was in college. So I was like one of the first people who was working in social media. So you have so many options. Your future, not even your future, your today is very bright. So please, you got this, you can do it. Take it one step at a time, update your LinkedIn bit by bit. If you have any questions, for sure, reach out to me. There is my website. There's my email address, and definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. Like I said, you got this. You already got the juice. You already got the sauce. You can do what you need to do. And that is for real, the end of my presentation.
Portia, thank you so much. That was just a wonderful presentation, and I can tell you that I learned a lot from it. And thank you to all of the panelists, students, and educators who joined us today. We hope you enjoyed this session and look forward to sharing more with you from the World Affairs Council of Pittsburgh in the near future. You can learn more about the council and our programs at worldpittsburgh.org. Thank you and have a wonderful day, everyone.